Quick Slants.
We have a move. Can you feel it? We also have pictures of Patriot players working out on their own. It's the first week of April. The Masters, the NCAA final, all of it, opening day. Everything's coming together. And we're going to get to the Patriots side of things over the next 22 or so minutes. We are going to have some fun. Mego will be in, Mike Tannenbaum will be in, Nakobe Dean will be in, and here's the game plan. Enter DeVante. Enter DeVante is how I meant to say that. Where the dough goes. Tannenbaum talk, and of course, poll and comments. But first, ladies and gentlemen, as you've become accustomed to, it's time for My Slant. Watch out! And let's keep it simple, okay, with 3 points on DeVante Parker. First, he's here as a replacement for 2019 first-round pick, N'Keal Harry. That's it. The Patriots knew in 2019 they wanted a big-bodied, physical receiver who could make contested catches and be a red zone threat. Harry couldn't catch and he couldn't get open. It's really not what you're looking for at 32 overall, but he was a good blocker. Anyway, Parker comes in as a player who can produce in all of those areas, and he's not redundant. He's not a wide receiver one, whatever that means, that will make defensive coordinators tremble, but he's going to make them sweat more than Harry did. And the Patriots, because they have Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar, and they have Kendrick Bourne, and now DeVante Parker, they have an app for all their passing game needs. Second, adding Parker removes wide receiver free agency for the draft. Honestly, I believe the tackle, guard, corner, and edge rusher were all bigger immediate needs than wide receiver. But adding Parker allows the Patriots to go ahead and feel comfortable about addressing those needs in round one and not taking a pass catcher early. And if they want to go in round two and pluck Jameson Williams or John Mechie from Bama, good. That's great. Love it. Finally, the Patriots did something to help Mac Jones. He doesn't make a lot of dough, as we will get into. And he's the most important person in the franchise. He's got 2 injury-prone tackles on either side, replacements at guard, and he had no security blanket at wideout. He needed to help the kid. Meg, they tried to. They tried to help the kid. And I think that's good.
They tried. All right, we're going to start there.
Oh, here we go.
You made 3 excellent points, I had to say, but you yada the major concern here, which is the injury history. Okay, I'm sorry, but this is a player who has a surgically repaired left foot.
Everybody has surgically repaired stuff.
His hamstrings are tighter than Mick Jagger's pants. So what concerns me is that, especially with those soft tissue injuries, that one of those is going to rear its ugly head early in the season. And you're going to be stuck with another wideout who is highly rated and acclaimed when he's healthy, and he comes to the Patriots, and he never gets to gel in the system, especially with a young quarterback like Mac Jones, who's trying to take that step in his second season here.
I appreciate you seeking out the cloud and then otherwise silver lining that I laid out for you. And to me, yeah, those all can be acknowledged, but it's a player who does fit the levels that you need. And for $5.6 million, which they're going to invest on him right now, I don't think it's bad. I know that you're not saying it's bad either. You're just saying that he is not going to be your panacea or placebo?
Placebo's definitely not it.
Panacea, the thing that fixes everything. He's not going to fix everything.
Placebo's the fake medicine.
That's the fake medicine. He ain't no panacea, which is fine.
They might have to put him on a placebo to keep him on the field. But my other question
stay away from these words.
You pointed out that they will make them less bullish in the draft. So do you think that that means that they are gunning towards a plan of one of those 2 more injured players that have a longer road redshirt season possible?
I think that can absolutely be a factor, because with those players, you're not going to feel as if you are committed to having to get them ramped up right away. And even with Jameson Williams, Meg, that's a player who some have compared to Tyreek Hill. And when we talk about dynamic players in the Patriots offense, who do you see right now who can take the ball on a 4-yard slant and go 70 yards? There ain't one. Nobody can do that. And I don't think Julian Edelman necessarily could, nor could Wes Welker, nor could Troy Brown, but they were elusive. And the Patriots do not have a really tremendously elusive player on their offense that 3 and 4 guys have to rally to.
We're talking about explosiveness. Let's go to From the Stands. Tom, you put out a poll.
I'm not happy with this question. I didn't pose it correctly. This is what happens when you end up with 75% of the vote ending up in one place. The DeVante Parker trade has me like, Billy Boy did it again. 12%. Good, like it. 75%. It's a fart in a windstorm. 13%. Did you understand what I meant by a fart in a windstorm?
Yeah, it doesn't really mean much.
Yeah.
It's a little bit offensive, but it doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
All right, well, Brackett said he did exactly what everyone wanted him to do, so naturally everyone will hate it.
Oh, Brackett.
And Matt says, on its own, it's a fart in a windstorm. If it is the missing link to help Mac Jones against the blitz and make life easier for other skilled position players, especially the 2021 free agency acquisitions, it could amount to a very good move.
Agreed. And I think that is the presumption. Were you allowed to say fart in your house as a kid?
Yeah, why wouldn't?
We weren't. We had to say had gas.
Toot?
Had gas.
All right.
Or made a smell. Back to live action, however, when we look at this complement of players, and I know that's what Bill Belichick spoke about last week when we asked him about players in 2022. He said those are young players and they're under contract. They presume improvement. So whether it's Jonnu Smith or Nelson Aguilar, who some people are trying to lop off the roster right now, I think the expectation is Nelson Aguilar is going to be here. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Let him play. Let him get you 45 catches for 831 yards.
You brought up Jonnu Smith, and I think that that's an excellent way to transition to what we want to talk about next, which is where this money is going, as you said in the game plan, where the dough goes. Because a lot of it is going to Jonnu Smith right now, and he hasn't made the production that I think they were hoping when they brought him over here.
Right, and I was doing this story on DeVante Parker the other day and looking at the investments. And I knew the Patriots were spending a lot of dough on some different spots, but check it out, wide receiver. They have the third most cap space allocated to that position. It's over $30 million. Tight end first out of 32 teams allocated there. They are sixth in offensive spending, despite the fact they have the 28th highest amount of quarterback expenditure. That's because of Mac Jones and Brian Hoyer and Jarrett Stidham. Those guys don't make a lot of dough. And the offensive line. So what we're seeing right now is a team that is overspending on offense, and they are doing that because these contracts, important to remember, these contracts that were signed last year are ballooning this year and then disappearing a little bit next year, so it's going to go back down. So that's when the shopping will happen.
This is why when people say, why are you counting on Jonnu Smith now? It's because the investment is there, and this is the season when he really has to prove out his worth, in my opinion. But it's also interesting that you see the wide receiver group having so much cash because it really is spread out against several receivers and no number one, no big Tyreek Hill style receiver, which is something I think a lot of fans are complaining about, that they haven't gone out and still gotten that from Mac
It's
Jones.
funny, you could still make the contention, though, that even though these five guys were catching passes, when you include Henry and Jonnu Smith, they might be a five more balanced group than the Patriots had in, for instance, 2018. Yeah, Gronkowski and Edelman at the top were elite. But then when you have Philip Dorsett and you have Chris Hogan and you have Cordero Patterson, that's less than group. So I think the Patriots might be more balanced now than they were in 2018, but there's just not as much eliteness. Anyway, well, maybe DeVante Parker will be elite. The guy who helped draft him, his name's Mike Tannenbaum. He's going to join us next, and we're also going to talk to Nakobe Dean. Actually, Phil Perry spoke to him, and we siphoned off his interview. Stay tuned. So what's DeVante Parker been up to on the football field the last 3 years? Well, take a look. Very prolific in 2019, outstanding season, his best in the NFL. And then it tapered off a bit in 2020. It's going to happen. It's going to happen a little bit. You got Tua, you got Fitzmagic. And then this past year with strictly Tua, 10 games, that's where the injuries cropped up, and just 40 catches for 515, and he found himself expendable. In comes Mike Tannenbaum from the 33rd team. He's outstanding on this stuff. Let's bring him on in. And here it is, longtime executive Mike Tannenbaum joins us. And Mike, you were with the Dolphins when DeVante Parker was drafted. Are you first surprised as an executive to see a trade within the division?
Yeah, a little bit. It's rare, Tom. It's not completely unheard of, but it is rare.
And when you look at DeVante Parker, what was it that the Dolphins liked about him when they brought him aboard?
Yeah, we really liked his size, his catch radius, his competitiveness. He's really good one-on-one in contested catches, has rare ability to high point the ball. He plays to his size. When he came out, he had really good time speed, and we thought he played to that time speed.
His injury history, I think, posed a little bit of a concern here. He's had some soft tissue issues. For going forward, should that be something the Patriots are desperately concerned about?
Well, I think it's something you should be concerned about. Look, he's a great competitor on game day. He has had trouble, obviously, Tom, staying healthy for all now 17 games. But if he does, he's a really good player. Obviously, Miami had a surplus, acquiring Cedric Wilson, drafting Jalen Waddle, and obviously the big trade for Tyreek Hill. So to me, it was a good opportunity for the Patriots. And if they could come up with a way to keep him healthy, he could be a really good player for them.
How do you like the fit in the New England offense? I mean, they don't have an elite, but it seems like they have a nice complement, Mike, of different players.
Yeah, I think he's a great compliment because he can play outside. He's a traditional X, and he can run the slant. He can, again, catch contested catches down the field. And I know they love versatility. And with some of their other players that they have, Jacoby Myers, some of the other guys came back from last year, Kendrick Bourne, Aguilar. I think Parker is a great complement to that group.
Two final questions. One, any theories, and you've been around it a long time with the New England Patriots and the AFC East, paying attention, any theories as to why the Patriots have struggled so much to draft and develop receivers?
You know, they have developed receivers, be it Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. Now, they have missed on some, more recently, N'Keal Harry. And, Tom, just to be candid, I loved N'Keal Harry coming out. I thought he was Anquan Bolden. So they weren't the, and trust me, the Patriots weren't the only team that liked N'Keal Harry. He just hasn't played with a lot of tempo, sense of urgency, which you'll see with Parker. But they're actually similar builds, in my opinion. So what they didn't have in Harry, I think they can replace him. I don't have a great answer except to say that Coach Belichick, to me, of all the great hallmarks of his career, like player development, you could just look at, there's countless guys from the Malcolm Butlers of the world. We could go on and on about the guys they have developed. Hard to say why they haven't hit on more receivers consistently.
Yeah, the ones they draft. And give me a quick synopsis, and we appreciate you taking the time. We know you're stacked today doing work for the 33rd team and your other accounts, but quick take stock of the AFC East here at the beginning of April.
Yeah, to me, the tiebreaker, obviously it's Buffalo, but to me, the tiebreaker between New England and Miami, and I've said this on the air much to the chagrin to my friends down here in South Florida, I think Mac Jones is a better football player than Tua. And that's why I give the edge to New England right now over Miami, just because I'm a big believer in Mac Jones. I'm still surprised that J.C. Horn was selected by the Panthers over Mac Jones. I just don't understand that. Matt Rule coached Mac Jones all week at the Senior Bowl. We were there. And as a rookie, Mac Jones took that team to the playoffs. And I think with an off season, he'll only get better. I'm a big Mac Jones fan. I just think Coach Belichick will get the defense squared away. Sure, do they need to add another corner? Absolutely. Do they need to add another receiver? Absolutely. But I think trading for Parker, Tom, before the draft gives them some flexibility depending on how the board falls to them. I think this draft's so fascinating because if you talk to 10 teams, Tom, there's 10 different sort of variables out there. So a lot of intrigue over the next month.
All right. Well, I'm a big fan of Mike Tannenbaum and his enterprise, the 33rd team. We'll give everybody the information they need to about that. And appreciate you taking the time. Take care, my friend. Yeah,
big fan of Tom Curran's as well. So I appreciate you.
How could he not be? Nakobe Dean, he is a Georgia linebacker. Now I could just call him a second-level guy because that's kind of what the NFL is turning into. Because linebacker, as we knew it, it might be going away. He is productive. He is fast. He's projected to go mid-first round. And Phil Perry, the ever-intrepid senator, was able to catch up with Georgia prospect Nakobe Dean. Here's a segment of his interview from the Next Pats podcast.
I know from hearing some interviews that you've done in the past, you love talking ball, right? So that's your thing. You want to talk ball, and I'm sure you've got the opportunity to talk a lot of ball now with these teams. And I'm curious, Nakobe, when you are meeting with clubs, how do they envision your role? How do they see your game translating from everything you did at Georgia, Butkus Award winner, to their schemes at the next level?
Everybody thoughts and roles on me kind of flip. They kind of change depending on the team. From team to team. Some people see me as a middle Mike. Some people see me as a weak side backer. But it don't matter. I feel like you plug me in. I feel like I can learn the position. I can play it to the best of my ability.
All right. Well, Nakobe Dean, if you put your general manager hat on, your head coach hat on, where would you play Nakobe Dean in the NFL?
I put him right in the middle of that defense, green dot. Definitely the one making all the calls.
How much contact have you had with the Patriots this offseason, Nakobe? And what do you know about Bill Belichick as a coach that would make you think that you would be a really strong fit here in New England?
So for one, let me say, growing up, my mother's team was the Patriots. My mom was a big a big Belichick fan. But I've had meetings with the Patriots. I feel like I definitely enjoyed talking ball with them because it was nothing I could so to speak. Everything that we did, they knew it was kind of from under the same tree. I remember talking to the coach, and he was like, "What's this check when y'all go to empty?" I'm like, "Is this check? We checked this." And he was like, "Yeah, where do you think that came from?" And I'm like, I don't know. He was like, "Yeah, we made it up." And I'm like, "Oh." So it's like just they kind of run the same system as far as defense, and I think and Coach Smart actually busted in our meeting when we was meeting with them. And they looked like they had been friends for a long time. You can tell that they was very acquainted with each other. But they seem to have the same philosophy when it comes to playing defense and come to playing football. So that's great.
Well, and I know you've talked about in the past, hey, Georgia, they play 4-3, they play 3-4, they play 4-2-5. It's whatever you need, depending on the situation for the Bulldogs. And with the Patriots, it's been the same way under Bill Belichick for a long, long time. So when you've met with them, Nakobe, has it been with Bill Belichick or has it maybe been with Gerard Mayo, who's the inside linebackers coach in New England?
The meeting I had was with first we met at the combine, but it was just like they wasn't in there basically. Then we met at when they came to my school for around pro day. I haven't met with Gerard Mayo. But it was Coach Belichick and it was Coach Patricia.
There you have it. So much more than the Nakobe Dean interview is on the Next Pats podcast. Hear how much contact Dean's had with the Patriots so far and a little bit more about what that contact has been like. You can find it on your favorite podcasting app, or of course you can find it on YouTube. Thanks to Phil for getting on that. After the break, we got Quick Fire, and of course we got the Mega Hot Take, and we will get into Lamar Jackson and his intriguing non-negotiation with the Baltimore Ravens. Double the muscle. All right, we got pictures on Kendrick Bourne's Instagram today. Shows Mac Jones has been working out with his receivers, including Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, J.J. Taylor also got himself in the mix. Meg will be happy to hear that. Woo! Good to see the Patriots are already doing work, Mego.
I thought you were introducing my Mega Hot Take.
Yeah,
I am very excited about J.J. Taylor. But I'm going to pivot because in case you've missed the latest chapter in Daniel Snyder's Book of Revelations, reports allege the shadow-lurking owner withheld ticket revenue from the league. If this is finally what wrestles the DC franchise out of Snyder's slippery hands, may the judgment be swift. Sure, I wish the league cared as much about alleged harassment of its own female employee, Snyder's decades-long refusal to change an offensive name, or his overall disregard for fans' enjoyment and on-field success. But at the end of the day, in this league, money will talk. Maybe, finally, this is when Dan Snyder will walk.
For the 23rd time this year, at least, I'm going to say on this show, another great take by Meg. And for about the 14th time, I'm going to say, can you tell she's a Commanders fan? Can you tell she enjoys the Washington football team?
Please get this man out of my life.
Nobody in this region spends more time talking Washington football than Meg Ottolini, which is fine because it's a pretty good place to start if you're looking for a piñata. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for Quick Fire. Quick. What do we got?
We're going to start with down from my region of origin, LaFleur Lamar.
Really
the
nice.
Ravens quarterback is still not negotiating with Baltimore, even though he is entering the last year of his rookie deal. What gives, Tom?
Very intriguing approach. He represents himself. And in one regard, you say, well, is he pulling a Kirk Cousins? He's going to wait and then just start collecting a massive amount of money? No, it seems as if folks in Baltimore are saying that he wants to be perfect, so until he wins a championship, he doesn't feel he has a right to renegotiate. To which I say, renegotiate, get yourself more dough. It's important for a guy who's going to take all the hits you're going to take this year, Lamar. God bless you.
Might be a case for getting an agent if that's the approach you're taking. Just saying. Another guy who's on the fence. Let's move on to indecisive Gronk, because the big fella has still not made a call on whether he's going to go back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's been some rumor out there that he might go to the Bills, but he said it would be the Bucs, but that he's 50-50.
Yeah, 50-50 and probably 100% trying to duck training camp. That is the modus operandi for smart veteran players who know that they can get up to speed quickly. So if you declare that you want to be part of things now, when you know there's still going to be a door open for you later, it means you have to go to mini camp. They're going to want you at OTAs. Just slow play it and then decide maybe in mid-June that you're going to be back. That's fine. Gronk knows where to go and how to get there when the season starts.
It's just so much time that could be spent on boat cruises and beach parties. Why go to camp?
That was the Gronk class.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to pick swapping madness. This is your thing. So there are a million pick swaps that have happened even before we've gotten to the draft. What does this mean? Because I can't find very much in common with any of the teams.
No, I understand. And I sent in a whole list of things, and I said to our guy, Rob Snyder, Buckets, do you want to turn this into a full screen, which is one of those things that comes up on the screen and shows everything? He goes, there's just too much there. It's just too confusing. So the upside of it is, I believe there's 7 different teams who have multiple picks in the first round. What that means is there is plenty of opportunity for teams to move up, to move out, to move back, and the Patriots could certainly be scaling if they want to in the first round. More likely, because of all those doubled up picks, that they'll be going up, where some of these teams without picks will jump back in to the first round, in my opinion.
Is that an informed opinion?
Not quite
or
yet.
Is that just reckless speculation?
The only information I have that's informed on this is Robert Kraft still very much believes that turning up the heat last year made an impact, so the heat will continue to be applied this year, but we want a very good and profitable draft. However you get it done, I'm happy to have it.
Let's get to what you really want to talk about. Tiger Woods, back in the Masters. Will he make it to the weekend?
Thank you for asking. Look, he commands attention. Every single time he plays, it's the story of the week, no matter if there's opening day or the NCAA Final Four or Mac Jones is throwing to J.J. Taylor. To me, whether or not Eldrick makes it to the weekend will be fascinating. No, he won't. He's going to go 76, 72, 158. Is that 158? Is that 148?
I can't
no, that's
do
148.
Math, Tom.
And he gets
There's
cut.
one thing we've learned about me on this show.
What? Do you like golf?
I'm going to learn to play.
Straighten your left arm. Please. One time.
Guys.